Awesome. Well, thank you everybody, and happy New Year to all. My name is Mike Condon. I'm the new Vice President of Franchise Development here at HomeWell. Along with me is Samantha Sieber. She is our Franchise Development Coordinator and our everything here at HomeWell. So thank you for being here today. And I'm especially excited to have a chance to talk with Ronnie Taylor, one of our franchise owners out of Cedar Park, Texas. Really, the goal of today's call and webinar is to give you a glimpse into what it's like being Ronnie and being running a HomeWell agency. I know as a lot of you are in different stages of learning about the opportunity here at HomeWell, one of the things that comes up all the time is, what does it look like to be an owner? So hopefully today we'll give you a kind of a glimpse behind the curtain with Ronnie about kind of his path, the pros, and some of the challenges of running an agency here at HomeWell. So that is our goal today. But first and foremost, I want to thank Ronnie for being here. I know your schedule is very busy, so thanks for taking some time this afternoon to talk with me and to talk to some of our potential new owners that are coming through learning about HomeWell.
Sure, happy to do it.
Awesome. So as always, I kind of like to start in the beginning. Obviously you had a long career prior to this. So if you don't mind sharing a little bit about your background and kind of what led you here to HomeWell.
Yeah, so I spent 30 years in retail operations. Started as a sacker for Randall's Food Markets, and it was right next to my neighborhood there, and so worked my way up from sacker all the way up to a district or division manager, and managed 23 stores at one point in 2 cities with about 1,200 employees. So we were bought out in 2017. So I was given an opportunity to leave the organization or move, and I chose to leave. And so I was really looking at where can I use my skill set? What do I want to do? So quite honestly, I just started looking at different industries, and really I came from a service background and an operations background. So as I contacted a broker and was working with the broker, one of the areas kept coming up was home care, that it was growing so much, and that it was, HomeWell in particular was really kind of a younger company. They'd been around a while in years, but really hadn't expanded really quickly. So that really drew me to HomeWell. They were easy to work with. Wasn't a high pressure sell for me to, sign today or else. And so I really like that about them. I really like the fact that I was able to, get the knowledge that I needed to go into home care. I picked home care because I really enjoyed helping people and have a desire to see others succeed. And so really that's what brought me to home care. But HomeWell in particular was a great fit for me because I had the operations background. I didn't necessarily have the home care background, but as you know, everything we do is non-medical. So we kind of rub up against the medical industry, I guess you could say. And so really that's what brought me here. And, this month will make 5 years since we opened, and we're doing great. And I love what I do, and, look forward to 2023 and beyond.
Yeah. So you came in 2018, and like we always talk about, there was 2018 and then everything before 2018 when our current chairman came in, Bruce Haas. And so talk to us a little bit about your experience when you came on board with to your point, you talked a little bit earlier about the support. What did that look like when you came in versus kind of where it's evolved to today? Because you've been through all of it coming in 2018.
Right.
So
yeah, I mean, I came in to your point when there was about to be a transition. Michelle Cohn, who was doing a lot of the operations and sales training, which I know she still does a lot of that today. The onboarding process was very thorough. It spent a lot of time talking about the sales process. I felt it matched us very well because we didn't have that experience. So defining what the industry is, looking at the differences and the type of target audience you have. I thought Michelle and HomeWell did a great job of explaining what each of those were or are, and then how what it looks like, what the sales process looks like. As far as putting the business together, we had a project person, it was kind of like there were 5 people that did everything, right? Everyone touched a little bit of everything. And the difference now is you have folks like yourself that are focused on going out and finding qualified franchisees, Samantha doing all things HomeWell. You've got Michelle that's in tune with operations. You have Crystal that's looking at the entire organization. And so you've got people that are very focused on their areas of specialty. So the advantage to that is that, or the byproduct of that is you've got great support. You've got business coaches now that we didn't have. So we were kind of our own business coaches. We would kind of call each other and we still do. But I think the fact is that, coming into this, you have a lot of support around you, because there are those days you wonder, what have I gotten myself into? And then, you find that person you're comfortable with, and all the business coaches at HomeWell are very personable people, all have franchise backgrounds. And so, in my experience with all of them, they've been very supportive and can really help develop your business.
Yeah, I think you bring up a great point about the coaches and that side of it, because that's not as common as people think in the franchise world. So obviously talk about your relationship with your coach a little bit, but more importantly, like, what is your cadence of communication? Obviously that changes as your agency grows and you continue to evolve as an owner.
Right.
But what does that look like? And then how do you use them to help? How do you use them to help them grow your business?
I always say they're there when you need them. They're not there when you don't need them. And so with Stu in particular, we have a monthly call, and there's a lot of times we're just looking backwards to say, hey, how did things go for the month? We obviously look at our numbers, and which I'm very attuned to what's going on financially with our company. And we spend the time talking about maybe what are some of the other folks doing out there that he's picked up that's this is really working for someone. And understanding we're all in different parts of the country, not everything is going to work the same in Austin, Texas as it is in Dallas, Texas. So really just having a good balanced approach, I think, is really what has helped me with the coaches. I mean, I was like you said, we didn't have that before, but you can kind of see where having that one person that really is focused on different things, but different owners, you can bring those best practices and synergies to the table, and it really does help. It does help especially when you just start, because you're just kind of trying to make these two trains move, the sales train and the recruiting train. And that can be, when you're just starting out, that can be really tough to stay focused on both of those things.
So let's talk about that, because that's a great segue into when you start. Obviously, a lot of questions again we get is, okay, what does it look like when pre-opening our doors to opening our doors and that first year? So talk to us a little bit about your experience with how you got started. What did that look like? What did your team look like? And again, how has that evolved over the years?
So when we started, we actually submitted our license in August of 2017. There's a 60-day, basically a 60-day waiting period. But between the end of August and receiving our license, I brought on a salesperson, someone that I had worked with at Randall's in the retail world, somebody I trusted, and went ahead and brought him on board. And we really kind of just split up the targets on who we're going to go out and build relationships with. We kind of had the motto of, if we're in our office wondering why we don't have any business, then we don't have any business being in our office. That was kind of our motto. We laugh at that today, but the reality is, within our networking in that time, I met someone that had been in the industry for 16 years on the home health side, and had coffee with them. And then they said, hey, if you would want to know who the case managers are and want to know a little bit about this town and how it works, I hired her as a consultant. Didn't cost me a lot of money. I can tell you that right now, because I didn't have a lot then, and so she was able to provide those names, the locations. And so it really kind of sped things up. It helped us really understand who was going to be receptive to what we were doing. And, again, that time between filing our application and we got our license early November, we just decided we weren't going to open during the holidays. We just enjoy the holidays. And then our January 17th, 2018, we opened our doors with a grand opening over at the Spring Hill Suites, which is a little hotel down the road here. And Chamber of Commerce partner. We had all the Chamber of Commerce folks there. During that time period where Juan and I were out visiting, or I call referral sources, we did invitations and invited everyone to come to our event. And so we handed out, I think it was roughly 120 flyers, and then we had 70 people at the event. So from that, we had one of the case managers that was there refer to somebody within 8 days. So, within 2 months, we had 4 clients. Within 6 months, we had 10 clients. And then it just, we never looked back. And so I think I was looking the other day, we have 42 right now. So as long as you have the right 42, that can pay a lot of bills. So can the right 10.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the secret sauce. And as you continue to learn about the right mix of clients, obviously in the beginning, you're taking every client because of
Right.
the hours you want to continue to build. So, I think that's a great story because the pre-work that went into the grand opening, a question I get is what size office do I need? I mean, you said you did your grand opening out of a Spring Hill Suites hotel. Office is a place very simple in the beginning. And I can imagine it's obviously grown for you, but what was your office space in the beginning like?
Honestly, that's one of the pieces of advice I give to people is don't spend your money on places you're not going to be. The office really is an area where, okay, so you have roughly, I had 1,000 square feet, I needed 500. And quite honestly, it was one of those situations where just for my background, everything had to be done today or the next day or whatever. And so I went out immediately and signed a lease, right? I mean, that was something I just thought I had to do. Well, I guess the good part of it was that it gave me a place to go every day, a place to focus on my business. Certainly that's changed in the last 5 years with COVID and all the lockdowns and everything like that. The bad side of it was I'd love to have that $15,000 back and do something else with it. So, I think for people coming in, you tend to have a lot of cash sitting there, and you want to kind of get your office set and everything else. You don't really need anything other than maybe a 2-room office, one for people to sit in, one to interview in. You don't need a nice lobby with candles and a piano or any of those kind of things. The only folks that are coming to your office are going to be the people that you're hiring. And so, as long as they're comfortable and it's clean and it's nice, there's some really good values out there when you're looking for real estate.
In the beginning, what did you use your office for? We always talk about the office's primary responsibility in the beginning is to hire, train, and orientate caregivers. Is that
still
true?
And still is.
Okay.
Still is. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And I would tell you, get in a location that's convenient for everyone. Sometimes I've heard other owners that'll say, well, I've got this office, it's 30 miles away or 40 miles away. Don't make it tough for yourself. I mean, you're your own boss now. So make those decisions that make a lot of sense. You don't need to spend an hour in traffic unless you just happen to live a long way away from your territory, which most people do not. So, but yeah, for our office now, I mean, it's we still have the same square footage, just in a different building, and it's just configured differently. But we have it's a nice space, but I don't overpay for it.
Yeah, that's the key, right? What are your controllable expenses when running a small business, and your cash flow, especially in the beginning.
Absolutely.
Got to keep them under wraps, and that's how you're able to reinvest in the business and grow. So in the beginning, like you said, you were out there. You and Juan were kind of the salespeople, right? Hustling, getting the referrals, and so how has that changed over time? And what are your roles now, 5 years in? What is your role, and who's on your staff?
So there's 6. So when we first started, there was 2.5 of us. There was myself, Juan. We did a little bit of everything. And then I hired a nursing student that was looking for a part-time job. She had some home health experience, so she worked here about 20 hours a week. We quickly outgrew that because she She was starting her nursing, her nursing degree, and she got busy, and so did we. So we had to get a new person. So then we hired a person that did scheduling and hiring, and then from there we brought on a full-time recruiter. Now, that took, that was going on right as COVID, right as the shutdowns happened. And so I really didn't hire anybody after that. And so now we have myself, and I really do most of what I do is the finance and the billing, the payroll, and just the kind of overseeing the business. Juan does the sales and marketing, business development. Then we brought on Ashley last year, about this time last year, and she came to us from Senior Helpers and does a great job as a care manager, really understands the industry, has 8 years experience. And so met her through a contact that we are partnership with. And then Elida, who's my wife, she works here and keeps us out of trouble with the state, makes sure all of our items are up to date, and make sure that we're maintaining the legal things we need to maintain with the state. And then we have Rosa Paul, who is our full-time recruiter. We call it talent acquisition, that she's out there. Last year we hired 123 people. So that's a full-time job to go out and find people to do what we do. So yeah, and I need to hire at least one more for the office right now. I'm looking for a full-time scheduler. So that would put us back at 6.
So hiring is always comes up. Every conversation that we have here in development, and as it should. I think that's a valid question everybody needs to be asking. Tell us about your experience with hiring, and the good and the challenges that go with it.
Yeah, I mean, you really have to do your research when it comes. There are people out there to hire. There's in any industry, hiring comes up as the biggest obstacle. But the reality is that every industry is difficult to hire. But what you really need to make sure you're doing is that you're hiring someone with a heart that really understands what it is that we do, which is take care of human beings, people. And so when we do a hire, we want to make sure that we're bringing in someone that we would let take care of one of our family members. That's kind of the way we approach it. Now, to find people, you've got to do a lot of different things at one time. You can't just have one approach, or at least that hasn't worked for us. I was just looking at it this morning. I think 40% of our candidates came from Indeed, 35% came from ICNA. There was I think 10 that came from employee referrals. And then we used a couple other referral sources that gave us that 123 or whatever that number was. And so, the turnover is high in this industry, but you can slow that down if we do a lot of things differently than other agencies. We pay a little bit more than the market is paying. We have a matching 401k after you're here for a year. We've got the Aflac insurance that we pay half of. We have pretty good participation in that. Our hours are flexible. So we like to highlight the advantages for working for us versus, the other agency, because quite frankly, this industry doesn't have a great reputation on how it treats people. So that was one of the cornerstones I wanted to bring into what we were doing is, we want to make it a place where people want to work and tell their friends about. And so that's really what drives us when we bring in a candidate is, do they really fit what we're trying to do here? And if they don't, we walk away from them.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, right? Talent acquisition on all levels. You got to match the culture of what you're trying to build with the culture you're trying to bring in. And I think in this industry, like a lot of industries, people have figured out that they don't have to work for bad bosses anymore. There's opportunity.
That's right. Well, in the office too, hiring the right people for your office. Are they people that are you hiring them because you like them, you're related to them? Why are you hiring this person? Are they going to fit the culture that you want? And I can tell you, just the 5 years we've been doing this, culture always wins, right? Yeah. Culture beats strategy eats strategy for breakfast. And it's very true. We have 4 people here right now that could beat a team of 8 that we're all experts. It's because if you're not getting along and you're not helping each other out, then this is challenging business enough versus, to have that going on as well.
So what type of support do you get from the HomeWell office, corporate team on the hiring side? Because we do talk about our retention program. I mean, tell me about a little bit your experience of being able to mix what you believe is the right way to do it, along with what the resources are provided to you by the corporate side.
Yeah, the difference is obviously HomeWell's tapped into what the industry, what I'll call experts or standards are. They really understand number crunch, which we do a lot of that here, but really understand that who the vendors are that are out there, because they'll all tell you they're better than each other. But I think HomeWell does a good job of vetting those vendors and then providing you with what's working. I'll go back to the business coach, what's working in other parts of the country. What, how much does it cost you to hire somebody? I think I did the math this morning. It's around $205 to hire someone. So that's a little bit better than the industry standard. So providing me with what I'll call the backup in case what I'm doing is not working. I think that's the biggest support I get on all fronts, is that, there's an expert somewhere that can tell you, or validate what you're thinking or not thinking.
Yeah. And last kind of topic I want to jump into is again, a lot of questions come up around competition.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take a guess that you're not the only home care agency in Cedar Park, Texas. Am I accurate in saying?
You're correct. Yeah. Cedar Park, Austin, Texas. I think I counted, I want to say there were 75 actual licenses. HA in Texas, I know everyone's, there's different parts of the country on here, but you can actually go to your state website and look up the number of licenses that are out there. And yeah, there's roughly 75 within 25 miles or 30 miles radius of here. Doesn't mean all of them are operating. And there's home care companies that don't have licenses. So, so yeah, the competition's stiff, but the face of what you make your business starts with you. And then, HomeWell, at least here in Austin, our goal was to, and still is to be the best home care provider, period. And we feel we're delivering on that in such a way that, it's scale right now is not as important as maintaining that quality and, slow growth. I mean, we've been up double digits every year since we started. And last year was no different. We were up almost 18% over a year prior, and that was on a healthy 2021. So, I look at it and say, HomeWell, in the box of business tools, there's tools for everything that you're going to face. And I think that's what you're looking for in a franchise, is that support that you can't go out and create that. And so there's digital experts, there's there's marketing, and marketing, old school marketing is different than digital. And so now we have a full-time digital person. So there's a lot of things that we have now that we didn't. And, I think the nice thing is we've got a good group of franchisees that we all help each other, and we make sure that if there's questions that need to be answered, we go out there and find the answers.
Yeah, it's the competition side doesn't seem like it's hindering your ability to grow at all. And I think that's when we talk to a lot of our owners, I think that's the theme that comes through. And again, every market's different.
Right.
I do believe that, and not all markets are created equal. However, when you talk to yourself and some of the other franchisees who've been there 5, 6, 7 years, the competition piece just is not an issue to them. I at least from what I'm hearing, and that sounds like it's what you're saying as well. I
would agree. I mean, it really is about reputation. And when you have a good reputation, then you're not defending a bad reputation. So, that's why it's important to have the right people on your team. And we feel like we've done that. We can always get better, but competition, that should make you better. Yeah.
Last question. When you sat back after your retail career and said, how do I want to build my life? Does HomeWell and the choice that you made, do you see that getting to where you want to be as your career progresses and that work-life balance?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I went from working 50, 60 hours a week to, I mean, yeah, I'm kind of a workaholic anyway. That's not necessarily a good thing for everybody listening, but I've learned to really meter that. I would say, instead of saying work-life balance, what used to be the old phrase is, there's more life-work balance. So, if I want to go play golf in the afternoon with my sons who both play golf, I can do that. If I want to, I drop my daughter off every morning, get to see her every afternoon. I mean, that's important because I didn't have that luxury in my corporate life all the time. I mean, I had some flexibilities, but not like I have now. If I want to go on vacation in a couple of weeks, I can do that. I mean, I have a great team around me, but I like what I do. I like the service that we provide to our clients, and that's absolutely no. People always ask you, would you do it again? Yes, I would. And it's providing a good life for my family, and we're building something that's ours. And you don't, even though a lot of us feel like we're providing value when you work for a corporation and they give you stock or whatever it is. I mean, having this business, it's really it kind of validates the decision that I made 5 years ago.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's the point, right? Business ownership should be about not only providing a life for you and your family, but providing passion for what you do and opportunity of growth, both personally and professionally. So with that,
people
Ronnie,
that work here and the people that work here.
Yeah.
They need a place to go to. And so if you can find people that can help you, that have the same passion and drive, you'll be successful.
Yeah. Couldn't have said it any better. Thank you so much for your time today, everybody. Ronnie, thank you very much for joining us here on a Friday afternoon. I wish you all the best in 2023. And everybody, any questions that come up, or if when you get to the point of wanting to speak with some owners, obviously Ronnie's always happy to field phone calls through validation. So get a hold of your franchise development director, Sam or myself, and we'd be happy to do that with that. So thank you everybody for joining, and have a great rest of your Friday. Thanks, Ronnie. Appreciate your time.
How about you? Bet. Take care.
Ronnie, always a pleasure.